Hey, welcome to Bold Women Lawyers Spotlight Interview. We have a great guest today. I'm Sharon Christie, founder and CEO of Bold Women Lawyers, a business strategy and business coaching business for women lawyers and solo and small law firms. I'm here today with my good friend Lisa Nichols to talk to us all about social media and how we can use that to grow law firms. So, Lisa, welcome. I'm really glad to have you here today.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. I always love chatting with you, so this is
I know
exciting. And I
we
love
have
talking about
fun.
social media, so it's a big win.
Exactly. It's a win-win all the way around.
Win all the way around. Yeah. Yep.
So, let me tell
Yep.
everybody a little bit about you because you have a
Okay.
great resume. Lisa is truly a consummate networker and community builder. She understands how to form genuine connections with people, both in real life and online, which is so important for business building. After her career, holding customer focused positions across a variety of industries, in 2010, she founded her company, Tira Strategies. Now, Tira Strategies is a consultancy dedicated to helping small business owners, which is us women lawyers and solo and small firms, small business owners navigating the complex world of social media. She leverages her expertise in relationship building and communications to help her clients build meaningful relationships with customers online and to build communities of loyal and devoted customers, which is so important for future referrals. So, Lisa, welcome. Welcome. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and I'm just going to jump in here because this is such a great topic and it's so confusing for so many of the lawyers that I talk to. Everybody understands you have to have a social media presence. And some people are very knowledgeable about where to go and how to do it or who to get help from to do it and what the purpose is. But a lot of the lawyers I talk to are very confused. And there's some expectation that I'm just going to start posting things from time to time and then clients are going to come to me. And of course, we know that's not how it works. So I'm going to ask you to just give us um, an overview of, somebody that has a small law firm. It's one lawyer, maybe two or three lawyers, some support staff, and they want to have a social media presence, but they don't know really what it's all about and how it works. So can you explain it to us a little bit?
Sure. Thanks, Sharon. That's a big, encompassing question. So I'll do
I
my best
know.
to be succinct about it. So I would say that when you start out on social media, you do want to know your goals for it and be sure that your goals are realistic. So if you get on social media and say, well, I'm going to drive business through my doors at exponential rates, that's not going to happen. You actually need to be very aware of your sales cycle. I think it's more of a circle now than a sales funnel, right? And figure out where social media fits in. And it's not really that part where it converts people to clients right away. It's more of building the awareness phase where people get to know about you, become interested in you, and then go down that path of becoming a customer. So, number one is to be fully aware of why you're using social media and to know that it's not always going to translate to having people jump up and say, wow, I need to work with you. The idea is that by building up this brand awareness and building up a community of people who engage with you, they will then become your customers when they need you. So that's the start. And then you've got to look at the platforms, and you're not going to want to be on everything. It's too much. It's too much for those of us who are in it all the time. That's why people hire out for it. And even then, we don't put them on all the platforms unless you're a huge brand. So you want to take a look when you're starting out at the platforms and figure out A, where your people are, your ideal customers, and B, which platforms you like too. Because if you choose a platform you hate, it doesn't matter how many people are on there, you're not going to like posting on it, which is why I will stand up and say I don't like Twitter, so I don't use Twitter at all. Like it makes me crazy, and I don't use it. So even if all my people were on Twitter, I would have a hard time making myself go on Twitter. A lot of people say that Facebook is dead. It's not. It's still the biggest social media platform. So there's still business to be had. It's just you have to remember that your stuff isn't being, there's so many people on it and so many businesses on it that you're being seen by a lower number, basically because the space is cluttered, but it's still a good place to be. Are your people on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? They could be, depends on your demographic. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Pinterest? So you want to look at all of those and figure out where your people are and where you like being in that space, because you're going to have to spend time with it, and pick your top two, one or two, and get really, really good at those. And then once you do that, you can add others. But don't feel like you're missing out on all of this business just because you're not on this one platform. You're going to get the people you need by building that community of the people you need by being on the platforms where you can devote yourself. If you choose more than that, you get spread too thin. You're not consistent. You're not showing up. And such a big part of social media is showing up daily, consistently, so that people know that you're paying attention, that you're listening, and that you're starting to build that community and build those relationships. So you have to look at it as relationship building.
So when you are looking at, where am I going to be? Where do I want to focus my attention? What are some of the factors you should consider beyond do I like it or not like it? And I'll be honest with you, way back in the beginning, I hated YouTube, but I figured out that my clients were there. So I learned to love YouTube, and it wasn't nearly as daunting as I thought it was going to be.
And the good thing, Sharon, I'm glad you brought that up. The platforms are really adjusting what they have. So there's a way to make yourself happy on most any platforms. Twitter had lives, they had listening rooms. Instagram's got lives, they've got video, they've got short video, they've got static posts, so, and even LinkedIn has lives now, and short lives and longer blog posts. So any platform, really, you can do what you want on it. So that's a really good point that you bring that up. But when you're looking at the platforms, look at the demographics of it. If your audience is female, Twitter skews a little bit more male. If your audience is younger, which platforms skew older than younger? And take that into account. And then market research is also great too. Take it, I know our coach recommends it all the time, but get some people, ask them questions. Where do you spend your time online? Which social media platforms are you on? Because you might be surprised. People shied away from Instagram because they felt, it's younger, but it's actually starting to skew older now. So women our age are getting more on Instagram. So it actually, and business people are getting on there. So it can be a better place to be. So knowing where your ideal audience is by actually asking them can be a really good way to start out, and then figuring out which platforms they work. Like if all of a sudden everybody I'm promoting to said Twitter, I'd be like, okay, fine.
Okay, I'll do it. But you said something really important about market research. And, when I talk to lawyers, and particularly those in solo or small firms, they're like, hey, I can't afford market research. And I think the traditional idea of market research sort of scares people, or that they think they can't afford it. And yet what you just said is so important. What you're talking about, what I talk about, is simply asking the questions to the people who are already clients, or people that may have a need for your services, just to find out where they are.
Yeah, exactly. You can do, create a quick market research that's 15 minutes, put it out there, have a link to sign up, tell everybody they're entered into a drawing for a Starbucks card, and then start polling people. I did that. You're not going to get hundreds, right? But you're going to get 20 people who might be your ideal clients. And that's very good market research. So,
exactly.
And
yes. And you get great ideas, because you can come up with some good ideas, in your own head, but it's only your own head. And so if you can get input from other people, it's invaluable. And it doesn't cost anything to do it. So, okay.
Except that Starbucks gift card.
Except that Starbucks gift card, which is okay. That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
That's not too bad. We can afford that.
So a question I get a lot is, all right, so how often am I, once I pick, let's say I pick LinkedIn, and I decide LinkedIn is where my people are, and I'm gonna, start posting there. How often am I supposed to post something?
Great question, and one that I get asked all the time. And my favorite answer is it depends. If you look at, some people say post every day, post 5 times a day, and some people say post once a week. So you take everything with a grain of salt. The big thing is consistency. So if you're going to you're getting your audience used to seeing you post consistently. And the reason that's so important is that being consistent allows people to know that they trust you. They trust you to show up when you say you are and to show up consistently. So if they're thinking about hiring you, they'd rather be with someone who posts consistently than someone like me who posts on Instagram whenever I feel like it and have time for it, which is probably never. But we'll talk about that anyway later on. But yeah, be consistent. But I would say with LinkedIn, the minimum is 2 times a week. It's a good idea to post then. But the other thing is that you also want to consistently engage. So even if you're just going to post on a platform like LinkedIn a couple of times a week, you want to go and engage at least once a day for a few minutes. Like people's posts, comment, share them. And that really serves you well. If you only have time to create 2 good LinkedIn posts a week or 1 good LinkedIn post a week, make sure you have that engagement piece of it, because that's actually going to show that you're invested in the people you follow, invested in the people you work with, wanting them to get ahead, wanting them to do better, wanting people to get their information. So I think that engagement part is the part that a lot of people forget about. And so even if you post 5 days a week, you still want to do that engagement piece of it. But yeah, I would say on LinkedIn, I think 2 to 3 times a week is good. I mean, unless you have fabulous content that you're always pushing out new information or asking questions, then go do it every day, Be careful not to do more than 3 times a day unless you're a news organization, if you're really going to go on the content heavy part of it. More than that clutters up people's feed with your stuff, and it's not always valuable or breaking news. Then people get and tend to... Yeah. I haven't seen it as much on LinkedIn doing unfollows, but it does happen on the other platforms too.
And I can tell you the practicing lawyers are never going to have time to post.
Which is good.
Which is good.
That's good.
That's good. But let's talk about the engagement part, because engagement means more than checking the like button or posting, ooh, great post, valuable information. It's more than that, right?
Yeah, definitely. You can do that, so there's parts of that are valuable too, where if you just have a few minutes, go in and like posts and say, oh, that's fabulous information. But it's also important to spend a little bit of time and read through posts. And then, where you can get the best bang for your buck is if it's a post that relates to your industry and it's not someone who's direct competitor, because that's a little cheesy. Go in and then make a comment that really shows the fact that you know what you're talking about and that you have something to say about this topic in your industry and that you are a thought leader. So let's say someone, an attorney was posting about something about challenges with social media, and I popped in and said, one of my best tips for social media is this. And so you don't do it where you're trying to take over the conversation, but just add to it. You don't do it on a direct competitor, again, because that just looks bad unless you're just saying, yeah, that's a great post. Thanks for sharing that. Love that information. But do something like that shows that you've read the article, you know what you're talking about, and that you are an expert in this subject and that you have something valuable to say. And the reason that's so great is because we all know that we have way more LinkedIn connections than, let's say, a company page if we have it, right? Like most of us have, thousands of LinkedIn connections. So if you're doing that on somebody else's page, their LinkedIn page, your comment will be seen by their followers. Chances are not all their followers follow you. So it's a good way to get in front of people who may end up being your target audience, at least a few of them. And so you get more visibility that way. And if you can do that a couple of times a week, you exponentially increase how many people see you and how many people think, wow, that Sharon knows what she's talking about. And the next time I needed someone to help me grow my business, I'm going to chat with her. Or if you're an attorney, the next time I need a business lawyer, that person really sounded smart, I'm absolutely going to get in touch with them, and I'm going to even connect with them now. So that's kind of the gold standard of what you're looking for when you comment on other posts, and it's doable. Just don't be is pedantic the right word? Don't be like boorish, and don't be overly teachy, but just be informative. You don't preach at people, but just be informative about the information you're sharing.
Yes, I think one of the challenges for lawyers is that when you're writing as a lawyer, preparing a contract, a legal brief, something along those lines, there's a certain format and style that you are going to follow. It is not the style of social media. It's not conversational. There's requirements that have to be met. There's cases you have to cite. There's points you have to make. And so to get your brain to switch from the legal mind to the business mind, can be a challenge. It's very doable, but I think for lawyers, that's something that that we tend to forget, and I put myself in that category too, because I am a lawyer. But we
Yeah.
think in terms of, okay, I'm writing a brief, and that's what my post is going to
Yes.
be. There could be nothing, honestly, more boring to your potential client, unless your potential client's a
Well,
lawyer.
I can think of a few
than
things,
a
but
brief.
still,
Yeah,
point taken.
just as boring. And so to try to get more conversational, it takes practice. It just takes some practice.
Yeah,
Um,
it does. And sure, that's a great point too. You really want to write in a sense like you talk. So, I talk a little Valley Girl, so I wouldn't throw like into everything that I do or, all of that stuff. But you do want to be true to you and true to your conversational tone, because if you're anything different, it's going to sound, there's going to be a dissonance there where it's there, it doesn't line up with who you are. But you do want to try and write on the social platforms within reason the way that you sound. So I tend to be more informal and kind of laugh and make jokes. So I try and make that come through in my writing where I poke a little bit of fun or something like that. So you want to do that. You don't want to be too boring and long and formal, because that's not what social is. And even on LinkedIn, when you do your lead-ins, really, or your captions, pay attention to how you're writing. Do you have that tone where you're teaching and talking down to people in a way? No one's going to want to settle, no one's going to want to listen to that. But if you do try and engage and bring your audience in with you by showing your personality, that's going to make more sense. I have a writer that I know who's one of my clients always said, write like you talk, and if you have trouble with it, talk into a recorder. We all have one. We can get one on our phone and then play it back, and that's how you really and write that down, and that's how you should be talking.
yeah,
Writing.
I've actually talking and writing.
Talking and writing. Yeah.
I've actually done the online version of Microsoft Word, because you can dictate it. And I've actually just started, I don't want to say rambling, but it's a little rambling. But just like I was having a conversation with a client, and then go back and edit it to make it flow better. But that's great advice. Make it a conversation or a conversational tone. The other thing you said was sort of make it a little fun. And again, and there are some lawyers that are great at that. They, there's one guy on TikTok that's like got crazy amounts of followers and views, and he's a little crazy, but he clearly has fun with what he's doing. But a lot of lawyers are pretty buttoned down. And, initially when I started, I was like, oh, I have to be really formal. And then I got over that. And would actually start doing, as you and I have talked about, I do videos when my favorite sports teams, when the season was beginning, and I'd have all my gear on and be talking about my sports team. But the importance, you had mentioned it, of people being able to see not just who you are as the lawyer, but who you really are, the person that you really are. Can you talk about the importance of that?
Yeah, definitely. And I want to come back to the fun thing too, because I do think that, and I'm going to tell you guys a personal belief I have that I don't put out there that much. I think that too few people embrace the fun of social media. And I think that there is so much of an opportunity for more of us to step into that having fun with it part and showing that and showing up no matter what industry you're in. And I think the businesses that can do that well are the ones who really do well. If you look at some of the businesses you like and you follow, they have fun with it. They enjoy it. They have a great time on social media. So I feel like too few of us, especially the clients who hire me, we must be serious. We must be business. You got to have fun with it and poke fun at yourself sometimes too. And, take a look at the social accounts you love. So, okay. So back to your question, which was, how do you show up as more of yourself on social media?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, it all, this is going to sound so counterintuitive, but it all starts with a plan. And so to be more spontaneously you need to have a plan with what you're going to post. And I love figuring out your content pillars. It should be 3 to 5 things that you post about that matter to you and that are business related. And if you want one of those to be your family life or something personal, one of my pillars is the National Association of Women Business Owners. I'm the immediate past
Yeah.
president. I do a lot with NAWBO. So that's one of my pillars. And so I've started to show more of that. So that's me because it takes up so much of my life. So I want people to know about it. So I've incorporated one of my content pillars into my life basically and use that. So I think when you look at how you're going to show up on social media, create the content pillars, but make sure they're not all business, 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 business. You have to add other things in. NAWBO is one, but for me, also being an older entrepreneur, even my hair, the gray hair, that's something I'm trying to embrace more on social media. I know, right? Because people ask about it. So I think that you need to keep those as your content pillars, make sure they filter into your content. Get in front of the camera because that's how you are authentically you. Like, it's really hard to fudge this as being somebody other than just you. It really, Sharon, you're in front of the camera all the time. It's hard to do that, right? So get in front of the camera where people can see you because they're hiring you. They're not hiring what you have to say. They are hiring you and they want to make sure they work with you. So let's say different people have different personalities. Not everybody's going to want to hire me, but the people who really get me and want a social media presence that's like that are going to hire me. Same thing with you and as attorney. Right. People are going to want to hire you who get you, who feel like you would do a good job. And that's not everybody in the whole world. And you don't want it to be. It's just those people who are your people. So video, do photos that showcase you. I think branding photos are invaluable. Work with a good photographer who can show you in your true sense and use those as your images instead of using stock photo. And just, I'm trying to think of how else to be you. It's really, I think it's a matter of being comfortable with what you're doing, and planning out your content and posting stuff that you feel really represents the true you. So I think that those are kind of the first few pointers. Sharon, you're very good at being yourself. So what do you have to add to that?
It was learned, but what I decided at one point, like I said to myself early on, I need to have a little more fun than just talk. I had a disability practice. I'm talking all about disability law and explaining. Okay. But I needed a little more fun. So it was football season and I'm outside of Baltimore and I'm a huge Baltimore Ravens fan. And I did a post about, football season, had all my gear on and go Ravens and all that stuff. And then I started getting engagement like from Steelers fans because we're a huge, rival.
That's great.
And then clients would start talking about it. And what it did for them and for me was it broke ice that would not otherwise have been broken. We could talk on a very person to person, not lawyer to client level. It was just person to person and we had fun and they relaxed. And that was the key because it got them to relax and it made our relationship so much better on a personal level, but also on a business level because they felt comfortable talking to me, telling me all the things that I needed to know to be able to represent them well. So once I realized that it was having fun, but it wasn't having fun just for the purpose of fun. It truly served a big business need. Then I was all in on that. So I'm all in on all my sports teams and vacations and, everything, things that I'm doing on a personal level without getting too personal, but so that people understand more about me as a person and they really enjoy that. They like that.
And that builds your loyal followers, that builds your community, and those are the people who are going to become clients when they need you. And that's what you have to keep in mind, that it is a slow growth. This is not an immediate boom, you're on social, you're going to get clients. Let them get to know you and then trust you, develop that know, like, and trust factor, and then they're going to hire you. And if you try and skip the know, like, and trust factor, you're going to have a bad relationship, So,
and that leads me to my next question in terms of reasonable expectations for client conversion, because you will have, we all do have somebody who has an immediate need and they see what you've written or they see your video and they're all in and they call you. But that's not typical. That's certainly not typical in my experience. So, what should people expect?
And There's wow.
It's hard. I
That's
know.
I'm
It is
stumped,
hard.
right?
I know.
Yeah, because there's no magic number. I think it varies by industry, and sometimes you will have that happen where someone sees you and like, oh, I need you right away. But
Right.
for many of us, it's just a slower build, and what you're really doing is using again your sales cycle. Look at it. You're building awareness through social media. How are you nurturing the relationships? Are you talking to the people who follow you on social media? Are you reaching out to them with a newsletter, which can nurture relationships if you have a good newsletter? Use stories on Instagram to nurture relationships. That's actually behind the scenes. I use stories to give a lot more glimpses of my personal life than I put on my regular Instagram feed. I've been trying to do more with Facebook too, Facebook stories,
Yeah.
but that nurtures. And then, what's going to be the point where they have to move off of that into being a client, and where are they with that? So
Right.
you actually do want to put your promo pieces up there too. You need to show people how they can buy from you, or how they can,
Right.
how they can
How do they hire
work
you?
with you. Yeah, and you
Mhm.
need that. So if
Absolutely.
you miss those pieces, then it's just going to be a lot of fun and go Ravens, but really what's the point of it? So don't,
Yeah.
some people go to the opposite extreme where they're like, I never want to promote anything. You actually do need to show them how to buy from you. Show them your offerings. We like to look at the sales cycle, and it's a little bit different for attorneys, but you want to make them aware of you, move them onto your newsletter with, let's say, a lead magnet, right? Where they get something of value from you, continue to provide value to them. And then if someone seems interested, put out stuff that, put out stuff on social media that asks a business question. For anybody who follows up, reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to chat more about this. I want to get your thoughts on it. So there's ways that you can work that sales cycle to convert somebody, but there's no magic number on how long it takes.
Right.
And
Right.
it's hard. Product-based are definitely a lot easier because it's a quicker
Yeah.
sales cycle, but for service-based, it's interesting. I could post social media. I don't know why, but Siri always tries to jump in on when I'm on these things. So I have to make sure she's not going, how can I help you? For me, I could put out stuff about social media and someone may say, hey, I want to join one of your classes or something like that. And it's cool, that happens. But you also have to think about how much they're paying to work with you too. Like, you guys have a very high threshold for someone to hire you. It's not a $10 or $100 or $200 course. It's a lot of money. So
Right.
that definitely takes a longer sales cycle unless they immediately need you. And
Yeah.
you just have to I think, look at your numbers, see where you're going, see what people like to hear from you. See if you're growing all the time in terms of being discoverable by new people, but then just know that this may turn out years later. I
Yeah.
tell you, I have someone I knew 10 years ago who brought me business recently. So you are working on building those relationships, and you never know when they're going to turn into something. And this is a good bit of business, and it's
Yeah.
shocking to me.
Yeah.
So
That's completely true. I mean, I had many people who, handling disability cases, they could see their health deteriorating. They were still working. It wasn't time, but they started gathering the information 6 months, a year and a half
yep.
before they actually called me. But
Yes.
because they were on my email list and my mailing list, once they made that initial contact, unless they told me I want off your list, obviously, they made that initial contact. Well, now you're on my list. We're sending you lots of good, helpful information and updates and et cetera. And when the time came, they called us because they kept getting our information, and they knew when the time comes, this is who I'm going to call. I'm calling
Exactly.
This firm. So
Yeah, exactly, Sharon. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. So you
Right.
just want to keep that consistency where they see you, they know who you are, they know that you're posting, they know that you're showing up in their email, in their inbox every month or so. And so then when they need you, it's time to need you. I was talking with oh my gosh, it was like a trial attorney who did criminal cases or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well,
Yeah.
how do we convert everybody? And I said, you don't know when someone's going to need a criminal lawyer. I said, there's no way to know that,
Right.
and the criminals that are needing a lawyer right now probably aren't looking on social media going, hey, where's so, but I said, so you have to just kind of build up that presence where everybody knows about you. So if they do actually need a criminal lawyer, that's going to be a really small percentage of people, then they would ask you. So it was just, they're like, well, we need numbers. And I said, we're not running Facebook ads.
I'm gonna rob a bank.
I know,
week.
right? I'm going to need a criminal lawyer after I rob my bank.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
We
funny.
didn't end up working together, which was probably a good thing. So.
But it's important for lawyers to understand that, because it's not an immediate cause and effect. It is ongoing, and it works, but you have to keep at it for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So, Lisa, this has been great. I'm going to put up your website,
Thank you.
and I'm going to ask you two things. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they have questions about social media and your offerings? And what do you think is one good tip for lawyers to, who are sort of new at this or struggling with it? What's your best one piece of advice for them?
Okay. So I would say my website has a contact form, which apparently goes to my spam mail, which I'm super happy about. So it's really a good idea, but you can find there's contact information. I do check spam. It's always good to reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a note that says, I saw you on Sharon's. I'd love to connect. I'm always happy to do that. And I'm, as you guys can see, I'm Lisa Nichols, or Lisa A. Nichols on LinkedIn. I'm also Lisa A. Nichols with 2 L's on Instagram. So you can find me there and DM me, and I check those messages. But yeah, reach out. I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. So that's it. I would say for attorneys who are new to social media, I'm going to give you my one best tip, which is, we talked about engagement. So I'm not going to say that one. But get your butt in front of the camera. Not your butt, but your face. Video is where it's at. So yeah, I know. Don't do that. That's a whole other thing that we're not going to address here. No. Then they're going to need you. But yeah, get in front of the camera. Do video. Talk to your audience. Do Instagram lives. Do LinkedIn lives. Yeah. If you say you're uncomfortable doing it, the best thing to get over that, as Sharon knows, is practice. So practice.
Absolutely.
But yeah, do videos. Let people see you. That's how they really connect with you. Mm-hmm. I had been going through a thing where I was doing LinkedIn lives probably once a week, and I loved it. And I just got COVID, life happened, and so I have to get back to it. But it was so much fun for me because people can connect and check in and say hi and stuff like that. So yeah, so get in front of the camera, and you will. If you use Instagram, do Reels. They're so discoverable, it's ridiculous. So if you want to grow, that's a great way to do it.
Great. All right, Lisa. Well, as always, it was wonderful having you on. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom with us. And for everybody who's listening, you can get in touch with Lisa at her website or on LinkedIn or on Instagram. For those of you, if you are not following me on LinkedIn, please do that. And if you go to my website, which is boldwomenlawyers.com, you can download my free solo and small firm success guide and get some more business tips there. So it's been great, Lisa, and I'll look forward to seeing you on Clubhouse soon.
Yes, but also I'm going to be doing LinkedIn Live, so you're going to be my guest there. I have to remind me. We're going to do that. So yeah, we'll talk about things a little bit differently, where I'll be interviewing Sharon most of the time. So if you want to hear more about Sharon, stay tuned for that. Thank you.
All right, thanks.